Hello and welcome to this web streaming malarkey with your host, me, Neil Millard. Today we're going to be talking about an introduction to IT contracting, but specifically why contracting. I don't know if you've seen this before on some of other materials, but when you're starting out as an IT person, there's a kind of a stepping scale where hopefully you gain experience and you gain more notoriety, better solutions. Looking at your code 2 years ago compared to today, for instance, you go, oh my God, who wrote that code? Oh no, it's me. What on earth was I thinking? So we can have lots of fun with that and see where we go with this sort of thing. I would show you my pretty face at this time, but my webcam's not working. We'll see if we can get that sorted out in a few moments. But as you go along the journey, hopefully you learn stuff and therefore have a better experience. And then you get to, my senior years, I suppose, and you want to share this stuff with other people. Anyway, so who am I? I'm someone whose webcam could work any second now. There I am. And I had an IT job in 1995 and I did some stuff, did a management swerve, and I went contracting eventually. But my little path to contracting was a little bit traumatic, and then there's some DevOps stuff. We don't care about that today. Anyway, so why contracting? The questions I often get asked is it stable? As in, when you're in a contract, how long is it going to last for? And how much paperwork is there? I just want to focus on doing my job. I want to do whatever the skill you're best at, whatever you're learning at the time. What your focus area is. In my first book, that one there, oh, there it is, I talk about the Scrum team or the Agile team, which DevOps is a part of that. And do you want to be a developer or an infrastructure person? So focusing on that job, as a contractor, is there much extra stuff you need to do? How much paperwork is there? And then the third question I most often see is, am I experienced enough? I am a contractor and I'm expected to know a certain level of things. And I think that's okay. As long as you do have some experience, then, you'll be okay. As you can see from the slide before, I don't know if you remember, I started my first job in 95 and I didn't go contracting into 2001. Which is about 6 years experience. And that's kind of what I would recommend anybody have before they start contracting, because they're expecting you to hit the ground running and you never know what they're going to throw at you. But that's the excitement. What they're going to throw at you is different every day and that kind of thing. And then there's career goals. There's certain career goals that lend themselves well to contracting and certain career goals that don't lend themselves well to contracting. So it's my story. In 1995, I joined an IT company as a trainee. And that was okay. Things were fun. I was learning lots of stuff, mostly about printers and things like that. And after 2 years of being a trainee, I was promoted to technician. Ooh. This is more money. Now we're talking back in 1995, which means these numbers don't mean much by today's standards. But that meant I went from a $6,500 salary to a 12 grand salary. I mean, double the money. That's quite good in anyone's book, right? So technician, I'd hit the big time. I'm now on to the next stage of the ladder here. I've gone from apprentice and well, they didn't call me an engineer, they called me a technician. Not quite sure why, but hey, job titles, whatever they are, who knows. So, oh man, I got made redundant. Can you imagine? You've just been on this 2-year journey and you've got some skills, you're a technician. They even gave me an upgrade to the company vehicle from a van to an Astra estate. And then they said, well, actually, that contract you're working on, they've decided that they want to insource. This means that I was working for an IT consultancy and they were providing most of the IT sourcing, the IT service, if you like, to that company. A large company based in the southwest of England to do with water, who have had quite a history of stuff, but that's another story indeed. So they were paying all this money out to this IT company and they thought, hey, we could do our own IT department. And so they insourced it. That means quite a lot of work for them. They had to set up their own help desk. They had to set up their own field engineers in order to go out and fix the printers and the monitors and the laptops and all that sort of stuff. The server side of things, they already had their own people looking after those. So they kind of had some of it already. It was just really that field basis bit. That was precisely what I was doing for them at the time through this third-party contract. So my employer said, sorry, mate, you are now redundant. We can offer you another role, though, in Nottingham. And I don't know if many of you have got a mental map of the UK, but I was based down in Weston-super-Mare, where I'm sitting now, actually, not too far away. Nottingham is, up north for us Southerns compared to where that is. So I didn't really fancy that option. So I started looking around for other jobs. Got a couple of interviews, 2 of them in the same week, and the same response back from both of them as, yeah, you're not quite the best candidate for us. So I was a bit stuck. And I thought, well, this permanent job doesn't sound very permanent if after 2 years or 30 months or whatever it was. It's a very long time ago now, 1997. I can't remember it too well. But I remember the feelings of, oh my God, I've just done all this effort. And yes, they've given me my break into IT, but where are we going to go? But I got a lucky break. That company that had caused the redundancy in the first place, they actually offered me a job. And I thought, well, that's good. I wonder what the terms and conditions are. And it came with a pay rise as well. So after getting a small pay rise, I then got another pay rise of a similar magnitude, 18k, just to put it in numbers, as well as a company car. Now the company car came with a K tax code, but it was an actual car. It wasn't a van or anything like that. And so this was nice. And besides, I had a pay rise to be able to pay for this extra tax that the K code comes with. And so everything was working well. But after being with that company for about 2 years, I was trying desperately to break into servers. I was very much looking after desktops and laptops and printers and things of that nature. And I felt that I've got 3-4 years experience now. Come on, let me touch a server. I can do server stuff. And that leads to more money. And so, we're approaching this 4-5 year mark now. And I'm getting a little bit, I'm worth more than this. I can do so much more. I can be better. I can offer. And so I wanted to make that leap from desktops to servers. And so I moved jobs. I moved to a building company, and they wanted a bunch of people. Now they'd just started their own internal IT department. And so I thought, okay, if I start in an internal IT department, I've moved from one at the the other company into another internal IT department. It'll be fine, and I get the opportunity to work with not only desktops and laptops but also servers. And something very strange called Lotus Notes. I don't know if any of you are familiar or even heard of it, because it certainly isn't around much anymore. So a new employer, new job, working on desktops and servers, and as progress for 2 years. So now I'm approaching the 6th year of my IT career. Whoa, crazy. But the night before Christmas, it wasn't quite before the day before, but it was around October or November. If you've seen my newsletter, you'll know. They announced that they were going to outsource their IT department. They thought, hey, we run this money, we've got some full-time employees here, we've got 6 people on the help desk, we've got another 6 engineers going all over the country. We can save ourselves some money by outsourcing it to one of the consultancy companies. And that's what they told us. And they said, it's okay, you're going to be protected under 2P, transfer of undertakings, and something else and something else. Again, I think it's in the newsletter what it actually stands for. I can't remember right now. And I thought, well, maybe this is a new opportunity. Working for a much larger IT organization, or maybe not. But I was getting prepared. I'm thinking, it's just before Christmas. I'm not going to go mad on spending lots of money on Christmas on my credit cards, because I'm not sure what's going to happen after Christmas. And my fears were then confirmed. We had the night after the New Year's Eve party. We came back into work, and our new employer, who's the IT company at this point, then says, yeah, we've acquired 12 of you from this company. We don't actually need that many, so we're going to make some of you redundant. And so I think 3 of the help desk people and 3 of the field positions were then made redundant. My patch being Bristol, they said, yeah, we've got loads of coverage in Bristol, we don't need you, mate. So here's some notice. And I asked them in the HR, I said, why didn't you tell us before Christmas if this is on the cards? And they said, oh, we didn't want to spoil your Christmas. And I'm thinking, that's very nice of the management to say we don't want to spoil your Christmas, but I really feel for those of my colleagues who went a bit mad on their credit cards, blissfully unaware that this might be a possibility. But that taught me that being prepared for something is useful. And I guess, with the budgeting and things, that's important. And we'll come back to that being a core skill of being a contractor, because contracts don't last for ever, nor do permanent jobs apparently. And so it pays for you to have those sort of nets, the rainy day funds, the contingency plans in place. So we're on to a new chapter. I decided to go completely the other end. Rather than me trusting my life in the hands of an employer, I got together with a couple of people. I think there was 6 of us all together. And a couple of them, well, one of them I've spoken to recently, the rest not really spoken to recently at all, which is a shame. I'd like to get together with them. Anyway, set up a company doing local computer repairs. And I can tell you, it was hard work. I had to do sales and operations. What does that mean? That means I had to go out and I had to go talk to people and say, hey, do you want us to look after your computers for you? And then once we've successfully signed them onto the books, then go out and fix their computers for you. And of course, I really love the operations bit, not so much of a fan of the sales bit. This might come to a surprise to some of you, but I was actually quite shy back then. Little shy Neil, not wanting to talk to many people. But I found my voice now, so that's okay. And then after a while doing that, did I mention it was hard work? I thought, hey, I can go contracting, which is actually easier than running your own company. So having seen it from the employee end, where they do everything for you and you just got to show up and do the techie stuff, is good. To go in completely the other end by having your own company and having to do absolutely everything, to then sitting in the middle with contracting. So I found a contract working with a bank. It was weekly billing. Yeah. That very short cycle. That means you get paid weekly, which was a novel idea because I hadn't been paid weekly since I was doing a part-time job in Tudor Gorge. Yeah, did I mention it was slightly easier? And so I'm confused now because my next slide is this. Not that that's confusing in itself, but maybe a bit out of order. So when running your own contract company, not your own company, although a lot of overlap exists, it's all about looking after the contracts, where to find them, making sure that you're all safe within the contract, and then actually signing up and seeing how it evolves and what happens at the end of the contract, because contracts aren't permanent jobs. And how the compliance works, all the tax stuff and the reports you have to write, and the running of a limited company, which comes with certain responsibilities. And as I mentioned before, a little bit about cash flow. We've got VAT to worry about, because in the UK, if your turnover, if your invoices is more than 80 odd grand, you need to be VAT registered. Not hard, but just something else that you need to look after. The cash flow and the forecasting and the money coming in and out of the business needs to be monitored quite closely, specifically at the beginning, because you've got nothing in there. You need to work for a little while before you build up that cushion, which is why weekly billing on my first contract was really useful, because I could see that money coming in really quickly and then pay myself monthly. So my personal finances was monthly, and that's okay, but the business finances all ran on a weekly schedule. And then invoicing and making sure you get paid for those invoicing. So the question is, are you ready for IT contracting? When do you start? The 3 C's of contracting I just went over, and why me? And I think the biggest answer I can give to you for that is, what are the questions you need answers for? Given that I've done it, been there, and am willing to share my information with you, I can give you the questions that you've not even thought of. I was talking to one of my contractor colleagues actually last week, where they said, it didn't occur to us to have a pension. And, this is one of the things that employers look after you. Okay, they have to do it by law now. But as a contractor, there's no one making you have a pension. But that comes back to the planning and the cash flow and making sure you know what happens at the end of the contract. Maybe it's the last ever contract and you want to retire. That's what the pension's for. That's just one example of sort of questions that won't even occur to you at the beginning, but I'll give you that question and I'll give you the answer to it as well. So if you want to know more, we've got a little quiz for you to see how ready you are. If you go to this address here, I think I might have a little helper online who will put this address into the chat. And with that is the whistle-stop tour of why you should be a contractor. And as usual, I've ripped through that really quickly. I must be excited, or it's just tricky timing these things. I would ask for questions, but I don't really have a way of looking at questions. Part of the course that we do is they are live, interactive, hosted on Google Meet, which means you can ask questions real time during the actual course and stuff that I put together. So it allows us for a much more interactive experience, whereas here it's very much, I'm talking to you and hopefully you're not scratching your heads with too many questions. Anyway, put them in the comments and we'll get to them after. And with that, I shall just leave you with this screen so you can scribble down that quiz URL.